So yesterday, reviews dropped for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, and by the time I upload this video, the game should be releasing now in most regions, and I wanted to discuss the reception to this game, because it's actually quite a bit better than I was expecting. Since going into the trailers and when this game was first revealed, I didn't really know what to think of it. And this is coming from someone who actually enjoyed Crafted World, even more than Woolly World. And don't get me wrong, I do love both games. Both games are pretty fun, even though Crafted World is far from perfect. It still has some issues here and there. It is a bit slow and hard to 100%, but I still think it is a great game, alongside Woolly World. But when I was looking at the trailers for Mysterious Book, I was a bit concerned, because Nintendo didn't really know how to advertise this game. It seemed too sluggish. It wasn't really clear what structure this game had or what the direction was. It did seem like there was some kind of mission structure, but they didn't really explain it well. They didn't really explain how the levels worked or how progression worked or anything. And yeah, it did definitely carry the stigma that Yoshi games have of like being for children. And don't get me wrong, these games are absolutely for children. They definitely have a younger target audience than most Nintendo games, and that's not a bad thing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that these games can't be enjoyable for older audiences as well, as long as they do it correctly. And I feel like in Woolly World especially, I feel like there was enough going for the game to be fun for all audiences. I would even argue for Crafted World as well, but I feel like that game, I feel like it's an acquired taste, and I feel like for that game as well, I feel like it resonated with some rather than others, but with Mysterious Book, it seemed a bit too heavily reliant on younger audiences rather than general Nintendo audiences from what we were seeing of the trailers, and that combined with the lack of elaboration of what this game's direction and structure was going to be, there was definitely a lot of concern there. And it seemed like this game might have shaped up to be a Princess Peach Showtime situation if it wasn't for the previews of this game. I feel like the previews that happened about a month ago kind of saved this game's reputation and saved the reception of this game in general. Now, sure, a lot of people still were kind of concerned about this game, and we didn't really know much about it. The Meech was even telling me that he thought this game was being developed by Arzest, of all developers. But these previews definitely offered a lot more on how this game was going to be. I feel like different people and journalists playing this game actually told us a lot more about what this game was going to be about than Nintendo themselves. I feel like Nintendo did a horrible job at advertising this game and trying to tell people what it was about. Because, we only started learning about this game with these previews. Basically, these previews kind of indicated that this game was actually kind of a spiritual successor to Yoshi's story. Rather than, a traditional platformer where you, kind of get to the end of the level, it was more so a collectathon type game. And it has different missions and things you can do in the level, and you have to, research different enemies and different species in each of these levels. And it seems a lot more interesting than the trailers made it out to be. And now that this game is actually releasing, it got an 81 on Metacritic, which is better than both Woolly World and Crafted World. And I know that the Metacritic score isn't everything. I even made a video a couple months ago about how Nintendo getting 7 out of 10 games didn't even matter, because it really comes down to your own opinion, and I still stand by that. It absolutely does. But a modern Yoshi game scoring an 8 out of 10 with consistently good scores across the board, aside from a few, in a series that is notorious for a drop in quality with many meh and mid games over the years, I feel like this is definitely a good indication that this might actually be something special. This might actually be a pretty good game, at least on the quality of Woolly World and Crafted World. And I'm definitely looking forward to playing it. Of course, I can't really give my thoughts on this game until I actually play it, but it definitely does seem a lot more interesting than we were expecting, and I definitely think that's a good sign for Goodfeel, because I do feel like Goodfeel has had their ups and downs over the past few years. Like, I do think Goodfeel is a well-respected game developer. They have put out a lot of great games over the years, like Wario Land Shake It, Kirby's Epic Yarn, Yoshi's Woolly World, and even Backaroo. I really hope more people play that game. But they've also released a few fairly divisive and mixed games, like Yoshi's Crafted World, which I did really like, but it did kind of have a mixed reception among fans, like I said earlier. And then Princess Peach Showtime, which certainly wasn't a bad game, but it was kind of regarded as kind of meh and didn't really have a clear and distinct direction, the exact thing that a lot of people were worried about for Mysterious Book, myself included. And I feel like Mysterious Book not really being that and actually being something a little more interesting, while also being creative at the same time, is definitely reassuring, because I did definitely have a concern that Goodfeel was gonna start going in that direction of making games that didn't really have a clear direction, but I do respect them for being creative, but like, it was a bit concerning after Peach Showtime that Mysterious Book looked a bit weird and confusing at first. But I am glad that one of their weird and interesting ideas that they tried actually worked, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. And finally, there is one issue with this game that still remained after the fact that the reception got better, and that is the price. And there still is rightfully a lot of criticism about this, because it's $70 physically, and yes, it is $60 digitally, but I still feel like that base price point is too expensive for this game. I feel like it really should have been the Star Fox Splatoon Raiders price point of $50 digitally, $60 physically, at the very least. Because I feel like pricing it at the $70 base price point is a hard sell for a lot of people, especially parents who are buying this for kids and like younger audiences, because like that is the type of game that you would want to have at a cheaper price. That is usually what Nintendo or other companies have as like a cheaper game. So having it at that base expensive price point, it definitely isn't the most appealing for a lot of people. So I think it was a strange decision for Nintendo to keep it at this price point. And ideally, they really should have like announced like a price drop for this, or at least changed the price before this launched. But Nintendo doesn't really like to do that type of thing. I was listening to Kit and Krista's podcast recently, and they said Nintendo doesn't really like to do that because they don't want to devalue their games. And I think that's a really weird mindset that Nintendo has. Like, they care more about having this game be a prestigious, new feeling title that is like the top price point, rather than something that is like accessible that a lot of people can buy. Like, they would rather have that like branding and prestige to their titles than something that will actually sell. So I think that is a bit strange, honestly, and I make a whole video about that because I feel like that is definitely worth discussing, considering the fact that Nintendo and prices is definitely pretty relevant, even though it does seem like with Star Fox and Splatoon Raiders, they are kind of easing up on it a little bit. But that's all I have to say about this until I actually play the game, but I'm still looking forward to it regardless. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. And make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!